This is Real Estate Talk Boston, joined right now by Ned Mahoney of Keller Williams in Needham. Ned, thanks for stopping by.
Oh, well, thanks for the time.
And you've been in the real estate game for a long time now. It's over 30 years.
Many years, yeah, 32 years to be exact.
And
yes.
Looking back, how has real estate changed through your eyes?
Well, it's changed on a lot of platforms. The way we distribute information, obviously, the internet is a given. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the way we communicate, and I think it's the change in the buyer pool, and the buyers that are coming to town are more qualified. They got more money in their pocket today than they did, 30 years ago. The dynamic has changed. The landscape has changed. The prices have changed. 30 years ago, the average price point in Needham was $200,000, and today it's close to $1 million. So the dynamic of the location, it's become a destination community rather than a community that people sought out as an alternative. Gee, if I go to Needham, maybe I'll get we were known for getting a little bit more than you would get in Newton or Wellesley.
Sure.
But now we've become a place that people seek out, and they're coming from downtown Boston. They're looking for the schools. They're looking for the vibe that Needham Center has with its new face that it's put on and interesting restaurants and things to do. And it's a very family-oriented community. So that urban buyer today feels real comfortable coming to Needham because they've got the train, they're connected to the city, and it really makes it a comfortable choice for people.
What is the price of the first home that you sold?
$87,000.
$87,000.
It wasn't in Needham.
Okay.
But it was $87,000 in Millis, and I remember that one particularly.
$87,000. It'd be tough to buy a garage.
Maybe a parking
spot.
Maybe a parking spot.
Most towns in and around the greater Boston area. When it comes to the buyer pool and how people see real estate, I mean that's changed as well. It's definitely not the old days of people opening up the Boston Globe and looking through pictures.
No, it's not. And that's where, the experience of being in the business for 32 years is the value that I bring to my customers and my clients. Because it's a different way to negotiate, yet experience is building on transactions and being in the business and knowing that every transaction is a little bit different. Emotions run high, and you've got to help and coach people through the process of buying a house. And that's the talent I would say that I've most developed over the years is listening better and responding better rather than being judgmental. This is what somebody wants. We had to do that in the day when the buyer didn't have a choice of what to see. They weren't able to preview everything. The broker controlled the inventory. So we had to be very judgmental and selective as to what we showed.
Sure.
Today, the buyer's making that choice. They're seeing online, and my best advice is not to be hasty, because some agents, they do a better job with their photography and their videography of a house. And if it's got bad pictures or it doesn't look good online, you can get passed over. So not only do I consult buyers about that, but sellers as well. But people are quick to accept and they're quick to reject.
Sure.
It's that type of market. It's got a real fast pace to it, particularly because of the sensationalism of the media. We hear about houses that everything is selling in a weekend over asking price. So now I get calls on Monday morning. Ned, why don't I have an offer? Well, you've only been on the market, a week.
Yeah,
let's be realistic. There's a sensationalism out there. Not all of them sell, but it's that type of a situation where you've got to understand the property and understand the personality of the buyer and the seller behind it, and that's how we get people together. Our role is brokerage, and that's bringing together people through the course of a peaceful negotiation so that they feel as though they really got the home of their dreams. And that's what they're really after. They're after that house that they see their future in. So again, how do we consult sellers? Look, prep your houses so somebody can come in and see themselves living in it. You want to depersonalize it enough that you still want it to feel like a home. That it's a happy place and people are going to be drawn to it. So there's the science to pricing, and there's also the science to presenting And there's also a science to negotiating and getting your best deal. And that's what I've learned through those 32 years. The most is that you got to be patient. You have to listen to people, and then you have to try to bring them together. And sometimes it doesn't always work, and that's okay. And as a broker, that's a hard lesson to learn when things go wrong. But they usually go wrong because they're outside of your control. So as long as you're a buyer and you're selling, you understand that. Well, something happened. Things happen. Life events happen. People go into transactions quickly. They go out. They don't always, as I tell people, there's going to be turbulence along the way. There is in every personality or every relationship.
Sure.
So that's the value that experience brings. That if I was back, 32 years ago and could have understood, it's more than just a commodity here. You're dealing with people's lives, and you're trying to help them get what they want, and they expect a lot from you on several different levels.
Great advice to the real estate agent who's just coming out of the gate trying to get traction in their market. Let's talk about Needham for a second. How have you seen that town evolve over the past 30 years, and what's driving people real estate wise to Needham right now?
What's driving it is a lot of the elements that Needham has always had. The locations. If you took a map out and you were looking for a centrally located community where you can get a half an hour to town, you can get a half an hour to the North Shore, to the South Shore, and west to 495. Your finger would pretty much go on. Into Needham are very close.
Yeah.
Needham, Newton, and Wellesley. But as I said, we were not 20, 30 years ago. People shopped Newton, and then they kind of rolled into, well, let me take you 5 more minutes and we'll take a look at here. There were people that were bent on being close to the city and kind of came to Needham going, this isn't too bad. I've got a half an hour ride to Boston. I've got a half an hour train that I can take, public transportation. I've got great shopping and good schools. All of the basic and of value at a good price. We've retained a lot of that based upon our competition. The Newton and Brookline market is still more expensive, generally speaking.
Out of control, yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's tough to get into those towns for under $1 million.
It is. The market has rolled. Okay, so you've got prices in Brookline that have pushed buyers that originally looked in Brookline into Newton, and then those have pushed. The values have kind of rolled towards Needham, and the price spikes that we've seen and the appreciation in homes is a result of supply and demand, and the investment that the town has taken in the community itself. It's got an excellent infrastructure. We've got always building new schools. We've got a $20 or $17 million outdoor swimming facility. They're making an addition to the high school. They're responding to what the town needs rather quickly and efficiently so that families have what they're paying for. There's a lot of value. Taxes in Needham are pretty good when you look at other towns around us because we have a fair amount of industry. And the beauty of it, there's a barrier of 128 is circumferential highway, and it circles the town somewhat. So your industry's on the Newton side of Needham, but you've got the river. And you go over the river, you're into Newton. But that pocket between 128 and the river is where the majority of the industry is, and there's some big names over there. And as a result, there's some significant tax revenue, and that helps keep the overall taxes down.
Really is a great place to be real estate wise. And can you get into Needham right now for under $1 million?
Oh, of course, yes. There's always an opportunity because you've got inventory you've got condominiums, you've got garden style condominiums, you've got townhouses. There is a variety of homes. There is a phenomenon of homes being taken down and replaced, but there's also homes that if someone is willing to put some effort into it and do some work on it, then there's a supply. There's not a lot of supply right now in the market.
Not anywhere. Yeah.
But that too will change, and that if we want to talk about every market changes. I was in a conference a couple of years ago when we were in this same cycle. You know, it was actually since 2014. Every spring has been virtually the same. We've been deprived of inventory.
Yeah.
So there are more losers in the bidding process than winners on the buyer side. And there was someone there and asked a question to the realtors that were on the board. They said, "Well, when do you expect this to stop?" So nobody would really answer. I said, "Well, the 4th of July." And you know what? It's a trend. If you go back and you look at the numbers and you look at where the market went last year, you know, this pocket of time, sellers beware that you've got a full attention on you, and you're going to get your highest price. Because come the summertime, people that are in the luxury market, they go on vacation. It's a short.
Yeah.
We all know that the summer's it's going to feel even shorter this year because the winter's been so long.
Yeah.
So it will take a break. It will take a breather, and then so now is the time that you want to be out there, because you're never assured that it's going to continue. It's real great now, but markets change, and sometimes that's difficult to see if they're looking at newspapers and they're reading, you know, articles online that everybody's getting over their asking price. They are now.
In due time.
In due time, it all shifts, but it's all been for the good. I mean, it's all been moving in the right direction, and because of our dynamic too. You know, I read recently that there's surprisingly a low number of homes overall in this, you know, Newton, Brookline, Needham area. You know, 30% of them don't have any mortgages on them. That's a pretty high statistic.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means we weather the storms when and if they come relatively smoothly, because one doesn't have to sell. Other markets in other parts of the country are much more vulnerable. It's not the same dynamic. So what does it come down to? It's a great place to live. It's not the only great place to live, but it's been my hometown, and I adopted it as my town.
And your website is actually
mytownma.com, and I do have a blog, My Town Needham, and it's basically I just embraced it. I grew up there. I've lived there. My family's grown up there, and I decided it's going to be my town. So I started a blog and put my license plate as My Town, and it gets a great, fun reception. You know, I'll go, "Well, what town is that?" You know, if I'm at the grocery store, or if you're pulling through an intersection, I get a thumbs up from the cops. You know, it's something that people smile about.
That's great.
And it connects. Not only is it a house and it's a bit of a commodity. Look, it's a community. It's a place to get connected. It's a place for you to feel good, and you're spending a lot of money, and that you want to have value, but you want to also know that you're connected with a community and what's going on. It's more than just the house.
Absolutely, and that's great information. If you want to learn more about Needham, check out mytownneedham.com or mytownma.com to connect with Ned directly. Ned, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
And remember, there's more real estate tips just like this one right here on Boston.com.